This is a setup tutorial for my Timescale Trigger script available on the Unity Asset Store. We start by creating a new 2D square sprite, but you can use anything you'd like for the trigger. Name it something like Time Trigger 2x. Move and scale it to how you'd like. Change the color if you wish to do so. I'm going to use orange for this zone. Next, add a 2D box collider. This is very important. Set is trigger to active. If this is disabled, the object won't be able to trigger the zone. Now we just drag and drop the script on the object. From here, we have a bunch of settings. Let's start by changing the timescale to double the normal speed. You can set this value to anything above 0.1. The transition time changes how long it takes the timescale to change. 0.5 is a good balance. Let's switch off reset after touch. When this setting is enabled, the timescale will reset back to normal when we leave the trigger zone. Next, add all the tags that can cause the timescale to change. You can add as many tags as you'd like if you need multiple objects that can affect the timescale. For this setup, I only need the ball to change the timescale. I'm going to tag the ball as player and add it to the tagged objects list. Let's add a sound for when the ball touches the zone. I've included 5 sounds, but you can use anything you'd like. Change the volume here for the trigger sound. Let's see our progress so far. Great. I'd like to add another zone. I want the left side to speed up and the right side to slow down. I'm going to copy and paste the time trigger zone that I already made and rename it to Time Trigger 0.5x. Now let's update the settings for the new gate and move it to where we'd like it. Change the color. Let's hit play and see what happens. Great. The left side is speeding up the time and the right side is slowing it down. I'd like to add background music while in the game. Create a new empty game object. Name it something like background game music. Now add an audio source component. Drag and drop the audio file and adjust the settings to your liking. Now add the new audio source that was just created to both of the trigger zones affected audio sources list. The music will directly respond to the timescale, speeding up and slowing down depending on what the gate is set to. I'm going to move these zones outwards to showcase the reset after touch setting. Now let's enable the reset after touch setting on both zones. This will reset the timescale back to 1 every time the ball exits a zone. Creating a zone around an object is also quick and easy. For this example, we're using a 2D circle sprite, but you can also use anything you'd like. Now we repeat the setup process. Add a 2D collider. Make sure you select the correct collider for your object. Set the Is Trigger option to disabled. Copy and paste the object. We'll use the duplicate object as the trigger zone. I'm renaming it to Circle Time Trigger 0.25x and will increase the scale slightly. After that, I'm changing the color to be invisible. And again, drag and drop the Timescale Trigger script onto the zone we just created. Set it up to your liking. For this example, I'm setting it to 0.25. I'm enabling reset after touch so that the timescale changes only when the ball is inside the zone. Remember to add your tags. I'm going to set the trigger zone as a child of the circle so that it can inherit any extra properties that it may have, and for better organization. Remember to set is trigger as enabled for the trigger zone. I've also included an extra script to display the current timescale on the screen for visual feedback or debugging. It's also really easy to set up. Add a text element from the UI selection. Name it timescale text or something similar. Adjust the text settings like size, font, and color to your liking. Next, create a new empty game object. Name it to something like display timescale. Drag and drop the display timescale script onto the object and assign the text we just made to it. That's all there is to it. Now there's a text reading out the current timescale. And that concludes the tutorial for the setup. Now that you know how easy it is to set up and use, you can let your imagination run wild.